Picture this: in the grand hall of Hastinapura, a woman's desperate cry pierces through the silence, reaching across time and space to touch the heart of the divine. This is the story of how Krishna became Draupadi's eternal protector in her darkest hour. The year is approximately 3100 BCE, during the twilight of Dwapara Yuga. The Kuru dynasty stands divided, and the seeds of the great Kurukshetra war are being sown in a game hall through rolling dice. Yudhishthira, the eldest Pandava prince known for his righteousness, has fallen victim to his one weakness, gambling. In this fateful game of dice, orchestrated by the cunning Shakuni and supported by the ambitious Duryodhana, Yudhishthira loses everything. First his wealth, then his kingdom, then his brothers, himself, and finally, in a moment that would echo through eternity, he stakes and loses his beloved wife Draupadi. Draupadi, born from fire itself during King Drupada's yajna, is no ordinary woman. She embodies Shakti, the divine feminine power. Married to all 5 Pandava brothers through divine will, she represents the strength and dignity of womanhood. Yet now, she finds herself reduced to the status of a slave through a game she never consented to play. Dushasana, Duryodhana's brother, drags Draupadi into the assembly hall. Her hair is unbound, she's wearing a single garment as she was in her private chambers during her monthly cycle. The entire Kuru court watches in stunned silence as Dharma itself is being violated before their eyes. Draupadi pleads with the assembly. She raises a profound legal question. How can Yudhishthira stake her when he had already lost himself and therefore had no right to wager anything? The learned men of the court, including Bhishma and Drona, remain silent. They know she speaks the truth, but political considerations paralyze their voices. Seeing the court's silence, Duryodhana orders Dushasana to disrobe Draupadi publicly. This act represents the ultimate violation of a woman's dignity and the complete breakdown of dharmic society. As Dushasana begins pulling at her sari, Draupadi realizes that no earthly power will save her. In this moment of absolute helplessness, Draupadi does something that changes everything. She stops trying to hold her garment with her hands and instead raises them toward heaven. With tears streaming down her face, she cries out, "Krishna Govinda, Dwarkadhish, protect me." This surrender marks a pivotal spiritual teaching. When human effort fails, when society abandons its duty, when dharma seems defeated, the only refuge is complete surrender to the divine. Draupadi's call transcends physical distance and reaches Krishna in Dwaraka. Krishna, the 8th avatar of Vishnu, immediately abandons his meal and extends his divine protection. As Dushasana continues pulling the sari, an extraordinary miracle unfolds. The cloth becomes endless. Each time he pulls away one layer, another appears. The harder he tries, the more cloth materializes. The assembly watches in amazement as pile after pile of beautiful silk accumulates in the hall. Dushasana, growing exhausted, finally collapses, unable to complete his shameful task. The miracle of the endless cloth demonstrates that when devotion is pure and surrender is complete, divine grace knows no bounds. This miracle carries profound philosophical significance. The endless cloth represents the infinite nature of divine protection. Just as Krishna provided unlimited fabric to preserve Draupadi's dignity, divine grace is inexhaustible for those who surrender completely. The Sanskrit verse from this episode teaches us, Bhaktanam Abhayam Krishna. Krishna is the fearlessness of his devotees. This incident establishes Krishna not just as a friend, but as the ultimate protector of those who call upon him with pure hearts. Draupadi's experience illustrates the concept of Sharanagati, complete surrender. When she stopped relying on her own strength and turned to Krishna, she accessed unlimited divine power. This teaches us that true strength comes not from our individual efforts but from our connection to the infinite. The miracle also represents the triumph of Dharma over Adharma. Though temporarily defeated in the court of law, righteousness ultimately prevails through divine intervention. The endless cloth becomes a symbol of hope for all who face impossible odds. This story resonates through millennia because it addresses universal human experiences: helplessness, betrayal, and the search for protection. It teaches that no matter how dark the situation, sincere devotion can invoke divine grace. Today, when we face our own moments of crisis, Draupadi's example shows us the power of surrender and faith. Her story reminds us that the divine responds not to our worthiness but to our sincerity, not to our perfection but to our devotion. The miracle of endless cloth stands as eternal testimony that those who trust in the divine completely will never be abandoned in their hour of greatest need.